So today we're going to dive into a pretty radical idea from way back in 1737 that totally flips our modern idea of success on its head. It's this mindset called less than the least, and honestly, getting your head around it might just change how you see, well, everything.
But here's the thing, this isn't just some abstract philosophical concept. It was the personal motto of one of the most influential people in all of history, which brings up a huge question. Why would someone that accomplished choose a phrase that sounds so small?
And there it is, the man himself, the Apostle Paul. His writings literally shaped Western civilization, and yet he actually had to invent a new phrase in Greek just to get across how small he felt. Less than the least. That's not an accident. It's a powerful, deliberate statement. So what on earth is going on here?
To really get this, we've got to unpack a bit of a paradox. Because this mindset, it's not about self-loathing or beating yourself up. According to the writer Isaac Watts, who analyzed this, it's a whole worldview, a mental discipline with its own very clear logic. So let's break that logic down.
Okay, first things first, let's get a working definition. Humility in this sense isn't about thinking badly of yourself. It's about seeing yourself clearly. It's like being a constant bodyguard against our own pride. You know, that little voice inside that loves to puff up our good qualities and just sweep our flaws under the rug? It's really about fighting our own self-deception. So how do you actually get this kind of clear-eyed view of yourself? Where does it come from? Well, the idea is that this humility flows from three main sources, three springs that really form the pillars of the whole mindset. And here they are. First, a real awareness of your own faults. Second, a genuine charity toward other people. And third, a sense of awe for something way, way bigger than yourself. Let's break each of these down. All right, pillar number one is all about unflinching self-awareness. I mean, let's be honest, we all naturally forget our mistakes because it's uncomfortable. We'd much rather focus on the things we're good at. This pillar is about intentionally keeping our flaws in mind, not to feel guilty, but as a direct counterattack to that natural pride. The second pillar then shifts our focus completely outward. This is a radical choice in how you see other people. It means you intentionally look for the good in them, while at the same time, you deliberately choose to cover or overlook their faults. It's a mental discipline of pure generosity. And that third pillar, it's all about perspective. It's about keeping a constant sense of the infinite, of the sheer scale and greatness of God. When you do that, it just naturally shrinks your ego. I mean, in the face of true, ultimate greatness, our little human achievements and awards start to look pretty small, right? It puts everything back in its proper place. Okay, so that's the theory, but you might be wondering, what's the payoff? Why would I do all this work? Well, this mindset isn't just some abstract spiritual exercise. It's meant to have real, tangible benefits that completely change how you actually experience your life. And what's amazing is just how wide-ranging those benefits are. They're not just in one little corner of your life. They touch everything, your spiritual connection, your relationships with every single person you meet, and even your own inner sense of peace and well-being. Let's make this super practical with some side-by-side comparisons. Think about getting criticism. So the proud mind, that's an insult, right? It's a threat. But the humble mind, since it's already aware of its own flaws, it hears it as a gift. It's helpful information, a tool you can use to grow. Or what about when things get tough, when you face real hardship? The proud person thinks, I deserve better than this, and so suffering just makes them angry and bitter. But the humble person doesn't feel entitled to special treatment, so they can face that same trouble with patience, finding peace where the other person only finds bitterness. And socially, wow, the difference is night and day. Pride, you see, is always playing a zero-sum game. To feel bigger, it has to make other people smaller. It tears them down. Humility, on the other hand, actually finds joy in lifting other people up and celebrating their successes instead of pointing out their weaknesses. Now, it's super easy to hear all this and start pointing fingers at those obviously arrogant people we all know, but here's the twist, and it's a crucial one. Pride is a universal human issue. It is not just a problem for the rich and famous. I mean, this is the first thing we think, right? We imagine pride belongs to kings or CEOs or celebrities. But the argument here is that pride is way more snaky than that. It's incredibly democratic. It finds a way to pop up in any life situation. And this just lays it out perfectly. Pride simply changes its clothes depending on the circumstances. A wealthy person might show pride by looking down on others. A poor person might show the exact same pride by resenting their position, feeling they deserve more. One expects service as the right, the other might refuse help out of stubbornness. It's the same root issue, an inflated sense of self. And you can see how those three pillars we talked about, knowing your own faults, being charitable to others, and having a sense of awe, are the perfect antidote to every single one of these behaviors.
So if this pride thing is so sneaky and pervasive, what's the ultimate solution? Well, the text doesn't just diagnose the problem. It points to a supreme example, a kind of ultimate blueprint of humility that people are meant to follow. For Isaac Watts, the ultimate example is without a doubt Jesus Christ. He saw Christ's entire life as a masterclass in humility. I mean, choosing a birth in a stable, living most of his life as an unknown carpenter, hanging out with poor fishermen, and then enduring ridicule without ever fighting back. Every single choice was a deliberate step downward. And this brings us right back to where we started, full circle. Here's Paul connecting his own less-than-the-least mindset directly to that example. He wasn't just making up a new philosophy from scratch. He was actively trying to copy a pattern he believed was the key to true spiritual life. The takeaway is that this mindset is an active choice, a way of thinking you have to consciously adopt. Which leaves us with one last, really challenging question. We live in a world that is constantly screaming at us to climb, to achieve, to get ahead, to be seen. And this idea from centuries ago proposes a completely opposite path. What if the journey to true greatness, to becoming who we're meant to be, isn't about promoting ourselves, but forgetting ourselves? What if the way up is actually down?